Turning Point USA is changing the state of American culture every single day. And with every major victory comes significant pushback from the left, who will do just about whatever it takes to shut us down. Their efforts are often so extreme, I can't help but think the left is terrified of the impact our movement is making. In this episode of On the Frontlines, we're diving into the fight against Turning Point USA on America's high school and college campuses at Taylor University, Glenbrook South High School, Catholic University, Tennessee Tech, and the great state of Montana. We'll sit down with one of Turning Point USA's most courageous students leading the fight for the conservative perspective at the University of Florida, following the school's decision to ban all conservative clubs from campus. And we'll meet a professor from the University of Illinois who's terrified of Turning Point USA. All this and more. I'm Isabel Brown, and this is On the Frontlines. On campus, the left tries to silence us.
There's a lot of liberal indoctrination.
Universities don't stand for objective truth.
Insulting us, threatening us.
We are on the front lines.
Hi, my name's Carter Mermer. I'm here in front of Ben Griffin Stadium in Gainesville, Florida. Go Gators. I'm 22 years old. I'm studying business administration. I'm in my senior year here. Growing up, I really wasn't into politics much, but around the age of 17, 18, going into college, I really found a passion for it. And when I came to the University of Florida, I got involved with some conservative clubs and movements. With the help of another individual, I helped co-found the Turning Point chapter here at the University of Florida. Became president of the chapter, and I can honestly say it was the highlight of my college experience. I've made lifelong friends, and with them, we put on amazing activism events, socials, community outreach. It was awesome. My name is Carter Mermer, and this is On the Frontlines.
Please welcome Carter Mermer from the University of Florida. Carter, please tell us more about how you got involved with Turning Point USA and what inspired you to be a student leader on campus.
Well, first I want to say thank you for having me. So it was freshman year, and I had a friend who went to the Young Women's Leadership Conference.
Very cool.
In Dallas. And she got really pumped and she got motivated to start a chapter at UF. And she knew that I was into politics, so she asked me if I wanted to help her start it. So from there, I served as vice president at first, but then I eventually became president. And because I love the organization, I wanted to stick with it.
What has your experience been like so far as one of our top student activists across the country?
It's been awesome. It's definitely been the highlight of my college career. Most of my best friends now are from the chapter at UF. I met so many amazing people. It's been really inspiring to see how many people love the country and are motivated to fight for their values.
You attend the University of Florida, which I think many people would safely assume is a pretty conservative environment to be in, but your campus recently made several national news headlines after they decided to unilaterally get rid of all student clubs, including your Turning Point USA chapter. What happened there? Walk us through what that process was like.
So we had a really awesome event called the Conservative Coalition Cookout on March 3rd of this year, where we went to the public field, Norman Field, right across from the university, right across from the sororities. We ordered Sonny's Barbecue, and we told people it's just going to be a social. Come, hang out. Everything was normal. Mm-hmm. And then, but like a couple of days later, we got a message from the university, and came as a total surprise. It said, you guys are now on interim suspension as we look into what happened. We were totally blown away. I mean, we were wearing masks on this field. We chose an outside venue on a public field. So we followed the rules.
And yet they still suspended you. And not just you, every other conservative club on campus,
so
too.
It was, yeah, there were 4 clubs there. It was Turning Point, Young Americans for Freedom, the College Republicans, and the Network for Enlightened Women.
So they initially suspended you, and then I believe, if I remember correctly from your story, you guys appealed that process, and you said, hang on, we followed all of the rules. What happened then?
So we appealed it, and to no surprise, they were set on suspending us still.
So COVID restrictions were the official reason that they gave you for suspending your clubs, right?
That was the official reason, yeah. And there was a technicality. They really got us on a technicality. There was an issue in reserving the field, this public field. They wanted us to...
Reserving a public field outside. Fascinating.
Yeah, at a public university. We had to make sure that we reserved it. So they that's really where they got us, to be honest.
Wow. So obviously, reading through all of the emails back and forth between your chapter and the university, they say COVID was the reason, but we really know the real reason that they were targeting Turning Point USA and these other clubs. It was for a political perspective. Why do you think the administration was so adamant that every conservative club had to be banned from campus?
I think there was immense pressure on them. There was a lot of backlash, like, hey, these conservative clubs, they were endangering the health and safety of our community, our students. That's what they said. It was an outside event. There were masks worn, whatever. But yeah, I think that they had a lot of pressure on themselves to do something to make it so they didn't seem like weak, or that they weren't make sure that they weren't enforcing the rules. So they suspended all of us, and we're still currently suspended, but just up until the first week of fall.
I think people were so surprised with your story that this wasn't happening at a Stanford or a Harvard or a Yale, where you would expect some of this politically motivated communication coming from a school's administration to a conservative club. What do you wish people knew about the University of Florida and how difficult it is to be a conservative on campus, even there?
So I actually get messages all the time from people who are starting as freshmen to go to UF, and they're nervous. They're like, what's the climate there? I heard that you guys just got suspended. I'm nervous. Am I going to be able to find friends? But I always tell them that regardless of what the administration thinks or what they believe, there's so many like-minded people on campus. And really, if you just get involved with our chapter, Turning Point USA at the University of Florida, or the other conservative clubs, there's like 2 or 3 others, you'll find your friends.
I think that's true at most universities across the country, and what makes it so special to be a Turning Point USA student leader, because you have that backing of the community to fight back when things do get hard, which was exactly what happened in your story. Tell me more about what led you to decide to fight back against your administration, and what that process looked like as a Turning Point USA chapter president, telling your administration you deserve to have a space on campus.
So we appealed it twice, and then I had a meeting with the administration, and Anthony Sabatini he's a Florida congressman right now. He even hopped on the Zoom call, and he was like my counsel. It was an awesome experience. Kat Kamek, she called the president of UF, and she was like, this doesn't smell right. And there was just a lot of pressure on the university, so much so that they made like an official response to it.
Wow. So this idea of watching you and Turning Point USA like a hawk, I think, is becoming normalcy on most college campuses across the country, including places you least expect it, like the University of Florida. Why do you think college administrations are so terrified of Turning Point USA in particular?
Well, I think this organization, the people in it are a bunch of fighters, and they're not going to let a bureaucracy go overboard and start making a whole bunch of tyrannical rules. I know that we have the professor Watchlist. If there's professors that are spewing bias and they're not really teaching, they're more like indoctrinating, our organization has always fought back against that and fought for free thinkers.
Do you have any words of encouragement or advice to other Turning Point USA student activists who may face this potentially in their future, with their chapter getting suspended, with being labeled all these crazy things by the administration? Knowing what you know now, what would you tell those students?
I would say stay strong and don't freak out. Reach out to your local congressman and congresswoman, because in our case, they were more than willing to help us. Talk with your executive board members, try to figure out a strategy on how to manage this, and I think it'll all be okay in the end.
It usually does, and you have had your fair share of negative experiences with your administration and fighting for a presence on campus. Personally, I'm sure it hasn't been easy being the front-facing person for Turning Point USA on your college campus and being the chapter president for your local chapter there. Knowing what you know now and having gone through this experience over the last year, fighting so much with your administration, would you still go back to your freshman year of college and choose to start a Turning Point chapter?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because it's been the highlight of my college career. It's been so much fun. So the connections, the experience, and just fighting for what I believe in, and having people around you who are just as motivated to fight for the same beliefs. There's something really inspiring about that, really exciting. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
What's next for Turning Point USA at the University of Florida? Your suspension is up in just a couple of weeks. By the time people watch this interview, it will have already been lifted. Do you have any big plans for the fall?
Yeah, so we're going to have a whole bunch of guest speakers come. We're going to have socials. We're going to have bi-weekly meetings. It's going to be everything that was in the past, and then plus more. I would say the most exciting thing is going to be the amount of guest speakers that we're going to be able to have.
Well, Carter, we cannot wait to see what is next for you and your chapter. Thank you so much for what you're doing to fight for the conservative voice on your college campus and inspiring so many of our other chapter leaders across the country.
Thank you, Isabel. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back to dive into our state of campus with more On the Frontlines. As the conservative movement has grown stronger over the years, Turning Point USA has evolved into a cultural leader fighting for freedom on American campuses. No other politically based campus organization even comes close to the reach and impact of Turning Point USA, and each year it grows even more. As we continue to educate and equip the next generation of freedom fighters, the backlash has become stronger too. Today, we're diving into some of the craziest stories of education targeting our Turning Point USA family, and you won't believe how insane they are. Here's the good news though, Turning Point USA is just getting started. It's time for your State of Campus. Let's kick things off at Indiana's Taylor University, where Turning Point USA's appeal to be formally recognized on campus was rejected this year by the Student Senate. They claimed Turning Point USA's actions have repeatedly fostered divisiveness through social media and incited conflict on multiple other college campuses, which would be inconsistent with the mission statement of Taylor University clubs. Fostering divisiveness and inciting conflict. You'd think this university was talking about itself, but woke individuals and institutions are self-absorbed and never self-aware. If you know anything about Turning Point USA, you know we love a healthy debate. It's not inciting conflict to want to talk about someone's opinions that you disagree with. Fun fact, Taylor U, debate is how the pros solve problems. If we didn't have conflicts, nothing would ever get done. Our favorite part of campus life is the opportunity to hold meaningful conversations about what we value, whether it be around a folding table or during a Q&A session with Charlie Kirk. These conversations, which used to be a pillar of the collegiate experience, are now considered divisive. How is speaking fact offensive? It's beyond me. This really just goes to show how far campuses have embraced delusion. The backlash towards Turning Point USA is not isolated to college campuses this year either. Nearby in Illinois, Glenbrook South High School's Turning Point USA chapter was also banned after the chapter hung up posters around campus criticizing the Chinese Communist Party. If you haven't seen these incredible designs from our TPUSA field program, check this out. One of our most popular activism posters features a character from the game Among Us with the caption, "China kinda sus," and the communist hammer and sickle symbols. It is entirely obvious that these posters focus on the Chinese Communist Party, not Chinese people as a race, but the school seemed to think differently. An Illinois state representative and parent of a Glenbrook South student told the media the clear intent was to stoke xenophobic anti-Asian sentiment. You know the ink block tests therapists use to ask patients what they see? People on the left would see racist for every single image. The intent of the poster is clearly to point out the behavior and policies of the Chinese Communist Party, not the people who live under the horrors of its regime. But in 2021, when racism is the hallmark trait of every action in our society, these Turning Point USA students were labeled as racists, anti-Asian, and more. You can say you hate a government without hating the people. Actually, you shouldn't like the government at all, especially one that's an imposter like the CCP. For the record, I have played Among Us, and I did use that intentional pun. Thank you. If you thought this state representative's perception of a poster was insane, just wait until you hear about a professor's emotional spiral over Turning Point USA. We'll be right back with On the Frontlines. Perhaps no one hates Turning Point USA more than the insanely leftist professors indoctrinating the next generation of college students, especially when they make our coveted professor watch list. Catherine Pendergast from the University of Illinois is no exception. Dr. Pendergast is a professor of English and an affiliate of the Russian, East European, and Eurasian Center at the school, and repeatedly shares controversial and, frankly, inaccurate opinions, both in the classroom and on social media. She claims the reason socialism has yet to take hold in America is because of, wait for it, racism. Haven't heard that one before. Dr. Pendergast also refers to conservatives as Nazis, while urging white Americans not to vote as a sacrifice to America to make us a better country. White people, if you post one more time with your I voted sticker, this professor is going to have words. Here's what she had to say on Twitter. Bear with me while I make my push for 2 election cycles where whites don't vote. I realize this is crazy and impossible, but I truly believe a demonstrative sacrifice is needed on behalf of whites to correct this dire course we're on. MAGA equals Nazi. Ah, yes, so enlightened. I have many questions, but first, aren't you white? Should we assume that you too will stop voting to prevent Nazism? Probably not. That's pretty racist. Now, here's the best part of the story. She has attacked TPUSA students as abusive bullies online and, once placed on this watch list, threw a tantrum claiming she was on a list that promoted professor harassment and even assassination. As an English professor well aware of the impact of language, you'd think she'd be more careful about the use of hyperbole in everyday life. You'd also think that her involvement with a Russian, East European, and Eurasian center would mean she knows why socialism shouldn't take hold in any place. But then again, she has her pronouns in her Twitter bio, so the obvious is clearly lost upon her no matter what. Dr. Pendergast, you're on our list, and all you other educators out there, keep it up, and you just might make our professor watch list. Jumping back on campus, we're headed to the Catholic University of America, where Turning Point USA was officially denied as a recognized student organization this year. Claiming there were already enough conservative organizations on campus, administrators shut down the application of Turning Point USA to become a new club in the community. In an email to Kayla Maloney, the student who applied for official recognition, administrators said, after careful review, we have decided to deny your request to start. We believe that the existing organizations on our campus already fulfill the mission and goals of what a Turning Point chapter would provide, and it's important that we support our existing organizations before agreeing to start new ones. Meanwhile, it's completely acceptable for other similarly aligned organizations to exist on campus, like multiple environmental clubs or multiple clubs focused on Chinese heritage. For having a surplus of conservative-leaning organizations, I would think Catholic University would appreciate Turning Point USA having events and hosting speakers on campus too, but I guess that's just too similar to the goals of other clubs. Here's a concept, and bear with me. A place where people can express their opinions, practice their beliefs, debate differences, and assemble with those who think similarly. We could call it a constitutional republic. I don't know, just a wild idea. Let's head out west where things are free, or at least they should be. Except today in Montana, where leftists are even more wrong about reality. The great state of Montana has its gripes against Turning Point USA too. Leading up to an event I spoke at last spring alongside Alex Clark, Vince Dow, and several other elected officials for the state, the Montana Human Rights Network released a 21-page report on Turning Point USA, claiming we were a minor league version of white nationalism that should not be welcome to host events in Montana. Once again, freedom of speech, gone. The Montana Human Rights Network claims Turning Point USA's history is connected to racism and white nationalism, which they define as a social movement that espouses the United States was founded by and for white European heritage. But aside from stating their opinion, they failed to provide any examples with evidence. Have you ever paid attention to anything Turning Point USA has ever posted online, said in the news, or done at an event? Literally take 5 seconds to Google Turning Point USA, and you will see people from all backgrounds working here and representing our company. This idea that the conservative movement is a white nationalist one is the laziest argument I've ever heard. Do better. They then went further with their outlandish claims, saying Charlie Kirk and TPUSA ultimately seek to divide us into warring camps, where winning political points is more important than building healthy communities. By healthy community, I'm sure they mean a place of tolerance and freedom of thought, so long as there are no conservatives or differing opinions, of course. In all seriousness, the real points being won across campus go to those who can cry racism the loudest and the most. So let's end with some professors who seem to be racing to the finish line of insanity. If you're a professor even thinking about advising a TPUSA chapter, good luck. We're rounding things out today with a story from Tennessee Tech University, where two professors actually threatened one of their peers for serving as an advisor to the local Turning Point USA chapter on campus. Julia Gruber and Andrew Smith are facing potential disciplinary action after they created a flyer targeting nursing professor Andrew Donadio as a racist. Their flyer states, "This racist college professor thought it would be a good idea to help start a Tennessee Tech chapter for this national hate group, where racist students can unite to harass, threaten, intimidate, and terrorize persons of color, feminists, liberals, and the like, especially their teachers." I remember a time, not long ago, a few minutes ago, actually, when leftists accused a poster of being racist for calling out a communist regime that persecutes millions of people. But a poster that wrongfully defames a private citizen for helping students with a club is a problem. And falsely accusing someone of racism is the real racist issue. Professors Gruber and Smith, bullying is not only so leftist, but it's also so middle school. Grow up and get some common sense. Better yet, stop fighting against organizations like Turning Point USA that aim to bring reason back to campuses that expel it. Has your chapter been denied recognition on your college campus? Do your teachers hate Turning Point USA? Tell us your story in the comments, and that's your State of Campus. Turning Point USA has never been under more attack from the left than today on high school and college campuses. Chapters are denied recognition, students and faculty members fighting for freedom are harassed and threatened, and baseless labeling of students and chapters as racists runs amok. Here's the incredible truth, though. We are not backing down. Turning Point USA has only just begun our impact on American education and culture, and we aren't going anywhere. This is your voice, your stories, your fight. Together, we are on the front lines.